What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. New video. Today is going to be one of those videos that I'm not the most comfortable talking about, but it is interesting and it is part of the history of my city, as well as part of the history of California. And so was the Raza from Santa Barbara, were they ever part of the Northern Raza? So, growing up, gang banging and stuff when I was a little kid, you only know what you know in the neighborhood, right? We didn't know when we were little ass kids. We didn't know the prison stuff, and we weren't really tripping on that. We were doing our thing. We knew we were going to wind up in prison. I think, at least I did. I knew I was going to go to camp. I knew I was going to go to junior hall. I knew I was going to go to YA. I knew I was going to go to prison. That was a given. I was just that dumb where I did not care. I didn't care enough about myself or anyone else to where it was okay if I lost my freedom as long as I represented the neighborhood well. Okay. So I remember I had been in YA for a few years, right? And I get kicked out of Paso in 92. And I wind up in YTS. Now, back in my generation, my neighborhood, the West Side, we didn't get along with nobody. Nobody in Santa Barbara County. And we would beef with the Avenue in Ventura, Colonia Chiques. It was different, so everybody disliked us. In my county, everybody disliked us. The dudes from the West Side were hated, right? So I go from Paso to YTS, and when I get to YTS, I'm told it's ran more like the joint. So even though I was from the West Side, everybody from Santa Barbara County there, we weren't going to beef because we're on a different trip now. It was, again, ran more like the joint. And so the way YTS was ran, certain barrios, certain areas would have a certain shop sewn up. Now, that was a training school or a trade school, right? So they had auto body, they had masonry, they had the bakery, they have culinary. They had so many different things where you could learn a trade, right? And so Santa Barbara County, we had the main kitchen, which was plush. That's where a lot of the dirty cops were at. They had took tobacco. We get all the tobacco, all the cartons of cigarettes, and sling them. Anyways, so I get there, and when I had kicked out of Paso, I had shattered my right hand, right? The pinky knuckle is broken in half of I don't know where it's at. Then the bone behind it, I broke, and then a bone in my wrist, right? Getting off, got into some stuff, and that's why they kicked us out of Paso, a few of us, right? So I got there, and I get a huila, and it was an older dude from the east side, and he's like, hey, older dude from Lompoc, from VLP. And he's like, yeah, this is who's here. We all work in the main kitchen. We're going to duck at you. You're going to come to work. So immediately I tell my Sally, hey, Holmes, come on, we got to break my cast off. And he's like, why? I said, man, everybody here that he mentioned, that's my enemigo. So I said, they're all in the main kitchen. They probably plan on trying to jump me or whatever. So I want to take this off. And he goes, why would you take the cast off? Homie, use it as a weapon. I said, because if I walk in, the hooders will probably tell me you can't come in, you got a cast. I said, so let's take it off. So we did. And I went. I was ready to get down with these dudes. And they were like, nah, hey, everything's cool right here. And the homie from Lompoc, from VLP, tells me, my homeboy, he's late today, but he'll be in here. He's assigned to the bakery with you. The rest of us are scattered around the main kitchen, but we can all chop it up all day. Don't even trip, right? So I'm like, all right. So later on, this vato comes, and I'm eating. I'm standing up right there, and I'm eating. When the main kitchen was plush. We didn't eat what the rest of the fucking institution ate. Hell no, we had the butcher shop. We had everything, man. We were eating fucking crazy food in there, right? So I'm eating breakfast, and this vato comes with his tray, and he puts his tray down next to me. And I look at him, and he's looking at me, right? And he's like, and I was like, what's up? I keep eating. Then I look at his tattoos, right? And I see Westside VLP on him, right? So I'm like, oh, you're so-and-so? And he goes, yeah. I go, yeah, I talked to your homeboy right now. And he's like, all right. But I could tell he was like, fuck this dude, he's from the West Side. And I was like, fuck him, he's not from my neighborhood. That's, the way it was. Fuck him, he's not from my neighborhood. But the way they were running things there, like if it was a joint, so we weren't gonna get into it. But he was the first one. It was later that day. He tells me, hey, I don't like to use the term, so I'm gonna use the term I use. He goes, hey, your barrio is the reason why there's Northern Raza, right? I said, what? He goes, yeah, you vatos were part of starting that, this and this and that. And I was like, fool, Lompoc is further north than us. What the fuck you talking? I was pissed, right? Little did I know, but I'll come to find out. This guy's dad was one of those guys. The Legends for the North. He was his dad was one of them. And what's crazy is afterwards, I started to learn the history of things. We'll just say that, right? And it was funny because, you can see there's other channels that put out the history of those organizations, right? And every single one of the original founders of the Legends from Northern California was originally from Southern California. But there were two cities that were pretty much persona non grata. If these guys from these cities, with us it was the counties, and if vatos from Santa Barbara County and Chino Sinners, if they hit the joint, they were going to get whacked because of their allegiance to that thing. But that thing had nothing to do with Northern California back then. But they had decided to create something, and the people that were there first weren't having it, right? But I remember that shit used to make me so mad, man. And the reason why I'm bringing it up today is because I saw I was scrolling through YouTube like, okay, what do I want to talk about today? And I saw there was a story on this dude. His name is Babu, right? He has a family. There was, I believe, 3 brothers. They were all involved in that thing. And I remember somebody asking me, hey, how are those guys ever viewed in Santa Barbara? What did you guys look up to them? I was like, fuck no. The ones that knew who they were, hell no. A lot of people got hurt because of them, because of their decision. I remember I had an older homeboy. He's in his 70s right now. He was my cellie in New Folsom. And he's the same generation as Babu. And I remember he had Santa Barbara across his stomach, all skinny, all the way across his stomach, right? And he was like, hey, do you claim Santa Barbara or Santa Bruta? I go, it's the same thing. He goes, yeah, but which one do you have on you? I said, Bruta. And he's like, man, Babu started that in YA. You'll never see dudes my generation with that. But he ran me down his experience. He started going to the joint in the 70s. Back then, he was in Chino reception, right? Something happened between some of the Southern Raza. Well, back then, it was, I can't even say that because this was before that. But some of those dudes that Babu's crew and this dude and some of the fellas down south, they had an incident. And this dude, my cellie, he was involved against those dudes right there, right? And so he got sent to San Quentin. And he's telling me the story himself. And there was another homie there, OG. I've talked about him a few times. He's the grouchy one. And but anyways, I don't want to get into all that again. But my older homeboy's telling me, he's like, hey, when I got there, he goes, I knew once they found out I was from Santa Barbara, they were going to kill me. He goes, and I went to the weight pile. He was big. He said, I went to the weight pile and I took my shirt off. And he had Santa Barbara across his stomach. And, one of the legends happened to look over and he said, hey, what the fuck does it say on that vato's stomach? And they looked and said, all right, that's Santa Barbara. He said, down him. So vatos went to go get him. Luckily, for my homeboy, people saw him. They were like, hey, what's happening? What's going on? Who is it? Like, they didn't know if there was some big was jumping off or what. And they were like, nah, there's a vato from Santa Barbara here. And they were like, you talking about that vato? And they go, yeah. And hold up. And a couple of dudes approached the legend and said, hey, look, we know you're going to do whatever, but just so you know, that vato was with us against them dudes in Chino. And he was like, serio? And they were like, yeah, he was involved in a couple incidents against them over there. He's not with that. And that was when I can't say the tide turned, but it was looked at as, okay, maybe they're not all the vatos from Santa Barbara County, maybe they're not all supportive of that. And it changed to where you weren't going to automatically get murdered just from being from Santa Barbara. I also met a dude from Chino Sinners. I don't want to say his name. He gave him, his life to God. But he was in New Folsom with me. And he had went to Old Folsom. And he was the one, from what I had been told, he had done some very serious things. I'll just say that he had done some very serious things on more than one occasion to show, hey, not everybody from Chino is with that. And I remember when I met him, he was already Christian, right? And I was told specifically, my Salipacas, I've talked about him in a lot of videos. And he told me, that vato right there, he's Christian, but that vato did so much that it's known if he ever needs anything to make sure he has it. I'd never been told that about any Christian when I was in prison. But that vato, they said, he ever needs anything. And he was, even though he was with the Lord, he would get off. Like if, Raza from Southern California were caught up in something and, he was the closest one, he had proven he's still going to do his thing, and he'll make it right with God on his own terms. So that's just a little quick, glimpse, a little piece of history. For those that don't know, Santa Barbara's in Southern California. Those things that were created had nothing to do with North and South. North and South came about in like 78, 79. A lot of people think it was around forever. South and North was around forever. It wasn't. It was a thing that came from YA. I have a story about that, but I don't want to get into it. This one right here to me is already touchy enough. I don't like talking about that stuff, but I felt like, what? It's a piece of history. It's history. It's California history. It's prison history. I don't, want to get into all the specifics I could, but to me it was interesting. Like I said, when that dude from Lompoc told me, hey, you out those neighborhoods started, I was hot. What the fuck is he talking about? You're farther north than us. But anyways, that's my video for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to check out Food and Fallons. He dropped a new video this morning. If you like the video, do me a favor and share it. Give it a like and leave a comment. Don't forget, you guys, if you have good topic ideas or any topic ideas for videos, something you want me to talk about, if I feel I can, I will. Remember, this is us. I'm the one on camera, but I'm trying to give you guys what you want. With that said, everybody, please be safe, be smart, and tell the ones you love that you love them. I'm out.